What up, my cisgenders? Yeah, you can't say that. It's our word.
Comedian Brian Torres Day is here to talk about Migrants, the show, not some people he knows.
Hunter Biden avoided jail time with this one neat trick. Tune in to find out.
OceanGate lost a submersible vessel that takes tourists to the Titanic. And that's just really sad. It's not a joke here.
All this and more on
The Babylon Bee Podcast.
Hot on the heels of the second largest bank failure in U.S. history and the 8th interest rate hike within a 12-month period, 186 more banks are at risk of collapsing. Your bank could be next unless the Fed does what they just did back in March and prints $300 billion out of thin air, making your dollar worthless. Not to mention the recession risk that could have a significant impact on your investment and retirement accounts. Take our advice and protect your financial future with something real, like gold and silver, from my friends at Allegiance Gold. Allegiance Gold can help you protect your IRA or 401k with physical gold and silver. And if you prefer, you can have it delivered securely right to your front door. Since the beginning of time, there is only one universal currency that is always of value, and that's gold. Allegiance Gold has the highest ratings in the industry. 5 stars with TrustLink, a AAA rating with the Business Consumer Alliance, and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. You can invest with confidence because of the quality and service of Allegiance Gold. Get up to $5,000 in free silver on a qualifying purchase when you visit protectwithbee.com today. That's protectwithbee.com. Or give them a call at 844-790-9191.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Babylon Bee Podcast. I'm here this week with Travis.
Hi.
And we have a good comedian friend of mine, Brian Torres Day is here. Thank you for joining us on the Bee Podcast. We've wanted to have you on here for a while. Yeah. Brian has a new web series called Migrants that's out on his YouTube channel. So tell us about this web series.
Yeah, man. So this web series was just really spawned because, I guess as comedians, we're always trying to find the funny in something. And especially when it involves like a lot of like Latin culture. That's always kind of like my bread and butter because I
was going to say, you try to find that. As a comedian, I don't always try to find the comedy in Latin culture.
Well, you should.
I should. I need to write more about Latin culture, yes.
It'd be great if you were, though. You're like, yeah, I also do that as well.
Yes. Oh, totally.
This web series was just spawned by, news headlines where you started seeing like the Texas governor and Ron DeSantis in Florida starting to ship the migrants from the southern border out to cities like DC, New York, LA. So just different spots. So I just figured, I was like, I think what funnier like premise do you have than basically hipsters in Brooklyn trying to take in these migrants and trying to integrate them into the Brooklyn lifestyle. And trying to integrate them with like local culture to where like you have people that, lived in like Venezuela, which is like a war-torn, like literally like dog eat dog because they will eat their dogs. Yeah, but also like trying to teach them about...
Only because real communism has never been tried.
Exactly. So I was like, what if you tried to teach these people about like, using the right pronouns and everything? And I just thought, I was like, that's just a great recipe for a comedy. Yeah. So that's what we did. We launched it. Our first pilot episode, it got an amazing response. The clips that we've been launching online have been, they've gone viral. Yeah. So people have been really enjoying it and they love the premise. And best of all, it's like, what I love seeing is like, you see, people commenting like, oh, this is like a real representation of what like our culture would be like in that situation. So it's been great, man. And people have been really digging it. They've been laughing. The comments have been amazing. So I just figured, let's keep launching more episodes. So that's what we've been doing. So we're getting ready to launch episodes 2 and 3 in the next coming weeks. People have been commenting like, when are we going to get more? I'm like, they're coming. So I'm so glad to introduce that to you guys.
And where can people check this out? On your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You just type in Brian Torres Day Migrants. That'll be the first thing that pops up. Yeah. And then also on my Instagram, they can go. Cool. So
yeah, the pilot's awesome. I watched it. It's really funny.
Thank you,
and I was at the premiere event at the Ha Ha Cafe in North Hollywood. Where you did a screening of it. Yeah, did some stand up with some other comedy friends of ours. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun, man. It was good to see like everyone in a room just get like being able to see it live. And, obviously, like, when you see people leave comments online, like, that's always cool. Like, oh, they appreciate it. They're gonna... But when you're in a room, it's like stand-up, right?
Yes.
Like, when everyone's just laughing together at the jokes and everything, I think that's really where, you're like, okay, cool, we're on to something here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I watched the pilot this morning, and I really appreciated that one of the migrants is just a plumber. I think that was probably my favorite joke. I look forward to more episodes. I'm really excited to see that.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
So did it start out as like maybe a proof of concept to pitch to like networks and become a real show, or was it always like envisioned as a web series?
For me, it was one of those things where I had the idea for it, and then I wrote out the script, and I sent it to a few people that I really trust, and they're like, dude, this is just really funny. Like, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to produce it, and just get it out there. It's not one of those things that I want to sit. Yeah. And people were like, yeah, let's see what we can do with this. I'm like, I feel like I need to get this out now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I kind of started off like that. And I was like, let's just keep it as like a web series. And then if it grows into something bigger than that, even better. But cool. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's great. A lot of the comments are, people are saying like, oh, this is like the Latino version of The Office, stuff like that. So I'm like, great. And I love it because it's not overly like, it's not a political push or anything like that. It's really one of those things where I'm like, we're just going for funny. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is the premise of the show. The number one thing is just to make you laugh.
I like to think, I wish the opposite had happened where NBC offered you a $6 million deal to do like a 10 episode run. And you said, no, I want this to be a web series on my YouTube channel.
Well, I mean, look, it wasn't NBC. It was actually CBS. So that was it. Yeah, that's really it.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, there is, social commentary in it a little bit. And I think it would definitely appeal to our audience. It's, I think everybody should definitely check it out. We're going to talk about what's in the news this week. We're going to discuss our favorite comedians. We're going to go through some hate mail. All that's coming up. Hit like and subscribe. Hit the little bell to keep up with all of our podcasts on YouTube and Rumble. Find our Babylon Bee podcast page on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And check out our new MURICA shirts.
MURICA.
Right there. You can get that just in time for the 4th of July and just a few days late for Juneteenth. Right?
Yep.
You can celebrate MURICA on Juneteenth.
You can celebrate Juneteenth any way you want to.
And you can get yours today and use the discount link in the shot description.
I think they mean
Is that
shop.
something they're going to show? That's something on screen. Get yours today and use the discount link in the shot description to get 10% off. And become a Babylon Bee subscriber to get the ad-free full-length podcast. Use promo code podcast to get 20% off.
What's in the news this week?
So here's what's all been going on in the news this week. Finally, some updates on the Hunter Biden investigation.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden got a very nifty plea deal to avoid any jail time whatsoever. He pled guilty to 2 misdemeanor federal tax charges for willful failure to pay federal income tax, but he agreed to a pre-trial diversion program, meaning no jail time, on the charge that he unlawfully obtained and possessed a firearm. So the pre-trial, I never heard of that. Pre-trial diversion program diverts people from traditional criminal justice processing and puts them into alternative systems of supervision and service, such as mental health or substance abuse treatment.
So it's basically he's been arrested by social workers.
I see.
It's kind of what it sounds like.
I'm just glad he's finally getting help.
Yeah. He seems like a good guy. I know Joe Biden's very proud of him.
And I honestly,
he's the smartest guy he knows.
The guy suffered enough already.
Yeah, really.
It's clearly, he's been through the ringer as far as being disciplined for his actions.
Yeah, really.
It's really interesting to me that he is, there's this whole news about this plea agreement and everything, and it's just about unpaid taxes and having a firearm, and not about, the potential
cocaine and bribery
and human
weird
trafficking,
foreign,
maybe, and
foreign trade deals.
Also hooking up with his brother's wife and
oh my gosh, that's what's so amazing about Hunter Biden. In addition to all the crimes, like the Biden family and Joe specifically, they keep trying to portray him as this model citizen. Oh, he's just a guy with a drug problem. He's just a bad person. Like he does all this. Like everything you read about Hunter Biden seems like the worst person.
Yeah, dude, it's really cool because it's like, nowadays like our rock stars are like very mellow. They're like they're going to like yoga retreats and everything. Like I feel like our like the kids of politicians, like those are our new rock stars.
Hunter Biden's a rock star.
Dude, the guy's doing blow off a hooker, and then he's got guns and videos and hooking up with his dead brother's wife,
there's so many weird, in the laptop leaks. I haven't looked at all of the stuff, but did you see the video of him like apologizing to a Russian hooker and saying, "I didn't hurt you. I didn't do anything to hurt you"? It's so weird. If anything like that ever came out about a member of the Trump family, it would be the front page news every day until that person went to jail.
I mean, that's kind of the cool thing of how things can be spun, where you're like, everything that's come out of what Hunter Biden is like, if you just flipped it on the other side, everyone would be really angry. But it's also like those mental gymnastics that you have to see people play.
Yeah.
To like being able to be like, no, I'm actually okay with this. I'm like, really? The whole gun thing? You're okay with that now? Guns and drugs and everything?
Exactly.
I mean, frankly, I feel like this guy's got a lot more partying in him. So I hope he gets through this and we can get him back on.
Get some more pictures leaked.
We need to get him back to his first love, which is painting.
Yeah, he also needs help with like when you do drugs and doing all this illegal stuff, it's good not to have a camera out if you're trying to get away with it.
This guy documents every illegal thing he does. I've never seen anything like it. I'm so surprised we haven't seen footage
of him in that submarine at the Titanic.
Yeah,
like
really.
Him just breaking the controller or something.
Yeah, really.
You know, like.
And he's he also has all this like shady stuff where in the leaked text messages he would call his lawyer the N-word when he called his lawyer a white guy by the N-word over and over again.
Well, he can't call him a cisgender.
And he would call and he referred to Asian prostitutes as yellows. Yeah, it's just he has photos of every crime he's ever committed. And then it takes 5 years to come up with one plea deal on one charge for him.
Yeah. I feel like this guy's just got like a deal with GoPro that he's not telling us
that
yet.
Could be, yes.
He's like, sorry, they got to be there every step of the way.
I like the idea that he has one of those like motorcycle helmets, the GoPro. Every time he's about to commit a crime, he's like, hold on, let me get my documentary crew ready.
Why didn't you guys tell me there was cocaine here, man?
Yeah.
I would have recharged the battery that I got right here on top of my head.
And then, yes, the other sad story this week, it's so, I don't know, it's tragic. A submersible vessel run by OceanGate called Titan became lost at sea while exploring the wreckage of the Titanic.
Yeah, this is a kind of a weird story, I think, because it is sad because they haven't been found yet, and if they get found. But it's
the dark
funny.
Humor part of it is hard to resist.
It's very hard to resist
the dark humor aspect of this.
I mean, Hollywood, dude. I mean, they'll do anything to bring back a sequel. Yeah. So.
Well, and I think what's made it hard for me to resist the sort of dark jokes, it's like I have real concern, and when you think about what those people are going through if they're trapped, it's horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also the Titanic, I always felt, was one of those events. It's like the Lincoln assassination, where it's a tragic event, but there's been enough time where you can joke about it.
Yeah.
And so because this is associated with the Titanic, it just churns up all the like dark humor.
Exactly.
Like desire to make jokes about it.
I guess that's right. And then obviously with James Cameron's movie.
Yes, there's lots of references.
Yeah, it makes me think a lot about, I've been thinking more about Billy Zane every day since this happened.
It's true. It's true. I mean, it's obviously Jack's ghost who's feels like, I mean, he didn't get a proper send-off, so he's trying to make it for the sequel. Yeah. But I think it's pretty wild, too, that the way they've talked about, like, the technology, because everything is, like, super advanced, right? And then when something goes wrong, they're like, actually, it's really not that advanced.
They're like, it's a van with a video game controller at the bottom of the sea.
Which is the weird thing. It's literally controlled by a Logitech controller that looks like a PlayStation controller.
They're like, it's really a Kenmore fridge with a small engine added to it. They're like, they should have never been in that thing. I'm like,
it's just, And let's see here. It says, Titan is designed to take 5 people 2 miles down to get a look at the wreck of the Titanic. Contact was lost with the vessel Sunday night. I also read, it said that they lost contact with the vessel an hour and 45 minutes into the dive, and then they didn't report it to the Coast Guard for 8 hours
That sounds
later.
like a problem.
But then I also read something that said there's been past technical issues with the submarine, and it frequently loses contact with the boat.
Well, the Bluetooth controller is going to interfere with that radio signal.
Well, to their credit, they really did update it, because before it was just an Atari stick. Yeah. So, they have actually...
Now they have third dimension plane of movement.
Yeah. And there's there's 2 billionaires on board. OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush was aboard along with several other passengers, including a Pakistani billionaire and his son and a UK billionaire. The tickets cost $250,000 each. The vessel only has enough air to last through Thursday, so hopefully if they're still down there alive, they'll find them. But.
Yeah, so this podcast comes out Friday morning, essentially Thursday evening for subscribers. So hopefully everything was all right. Keep them in your prayers. But now you can't because it's too late.
There's a picture.
Don't pray for them anymore.
There's a picture of the video game controller that they used to operate it.
That's insane.
Yeah. So I think it would have worked out a lot better if it was a Dreamcast controller. They would have been fine.
You think that's the one to go with?
And
you got to get the name brand. You can't get the Radio Shack.
Yeah, you can't
equally
get the game
compatible, the sort of compatible controller.
I love how that's where they cut the corner, right? They're like, should we go with look, we got to be careful. I mean, it's $250,000 a ticket, so come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's wild. I don't like, what do you talk about for that long too? I mean, the awkwardness that they must be in there.
It's just,
it's awful.
It sounds terrifying.
Yeah, I guess supposedly Rolling Stones article said that they've heard banging and they're trying to triangulate based on banging noises.
It said that there was a Canadian plane with sonar or something that detected underwater banging noises every 30 minutes yesterday. And then they heard it again 4 hours later, but it didn't say how long the total duration of that was. Yeah. And they don't even know if it's the sub or not. They're just like, there's something that's banging every 30 minutes.
It's a megalodon.
It could be.
Yeah. So it's interesting to me, though. I mean, I'm not an expert in the Navy, obviously, but
really?
That's why we had you on the podcast today. We said we should have Travis on because he's an expert on the Navy.
Yeah, former Navy SEAL. But they're taking a ship to the Titanic wreckage, and then they're taking a submersible down. It's basically just straight down. Yeah. So how'd they lose it? Where did it go?
I don't know that they know.
Why can't they find it?
From what I've heard.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty small.
Well, I think the reason it's such a large search area is because I think it's like 2 miles down, and I think because they lost contact an hour and 45 minutes in, it may not have been all the way on the bottom. So then if it lost power or something, I think it could just drift or float or like.
Okay, so it's not necessarily stuck on the bottom.
And they also said that it seems like if it was on the surface, they would have found it by now, but it had some emergency thing where it's supposed to surface if there's a problem. So then if it floats to the surface, it could basically float across the surface of the ocean for any number of miles. They said it's like looking for a minivan in 2 miles of water in an area the size of Connecticut.
That sounds
so they'll find
difficult.
It
Well, if it's Connecticut though.
Why haven't we also gone with the possibility that it was swallowed by a whale?
It could. It could be some creature that we don't even know exists down there.
Is it worth discovering a new species to sacrifice some billionaires?
Yes.
It's just.
No. It's not.
I think it would be.
But yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, that's enough about crazy. Jack from the Titanic. Let's talk about another historic figure.
So the most historic figure I know is Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre with the White House. She called herself a historic figure, which is kind of like giving yourself a nickname. You can't just give yourself the nickname. You can't just say, hey, I'm the historic figure. Yeah. Everyone look at me for being historic. I mean, she technically is. We all are. We're all part of history.
I mean, look, as the greatest comedian of all time, I think it's confident that I can say she is pretty historical.
We have the goat here.
That is pretty cool. It's like it's something like when you do lie on your resume, but she's just like a walking lying resume.
Yeah,
like that's pretty awesome.
I like the idea that she actually puts that on her resume.
I know.
Historic figure in the Biden administration.
Yeah. So her exact quote is, "This is a historic administration. I am a historic figure, and I certainly walk in history every day. But this is also a history-making administration because of this president."
Because he's been alive through most of
That's
history.
what I kind of feel too. I'm like, is that a shot? Is that being ageist in some way?
She's a historic figure and he's a prehistoric figure.
Right, and she added, it's not lost on me the communities that I represent because she's black, and if you didn't know, and what I mean to those communities, and how they view me at the podium and how important it is to them. That is also on my mind, right? So how I'm representing the black community, the Caribbean community, the LGBTQ plus community, and it is important I do that well.
I wonder if she thinks it's important that she does that well, why doesn't she do it well?
Oh, I didn't even know she was Caribbean.
I don't know if
I don't even think Caribbeans know that she's Caribbean. But also too, that's what I'm saying. Like, she's obviously very much aware about how she's being perceived, but I guarantee if you ask 10 people who this person is, they'll all just, from those communities, they'll be like, I don't know. Oh, wait, no, she's historical. Oh, yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
I think part of that is that she has a French name, and that's the most historical thing about her. Everything.
The first French person to serve in government.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I view her.
There's also such a presumption in saying this is a historic administration. It just shows their mindset of they think everything that they're doing on the left is always this is history. This is monumental. We're the force for good.
They're looking at everything like we're the first gay black person on the moon.
Exactly. Yeah. Brian, you want to take the next story here?
I don't know about you guys. It takes a lot to shock me these days. But to see our judicial system resemble a third world banana republic, to see trusted American companies embracing insane and destructive woke ideologies, it's all frankly depressing. We must fight back, and that starts with changing the way we spend our money. For years, big mobile companies have been dumping millions into leftist causes, and we just had to take it, because another option didn't exist. But now it does. Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, offers dependable nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. So you get the best possible service in your area without the woke propaganda pushed by leftists working hard to destroy this country. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you support free speech and religious freedom, the sanctity of life, the Second Amendment, and our military, veterans, and first responder heroes. Their 100% US-based customer service team makes switching easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/B2023, that's B2023, BEE2023, or call them 878-PATRIOT. Get free activation today with the offer code BEE2023.
Yeah. Scientists have been able to create synthetic human embryos.
Ooh, why?
Jeez.
Reports from last week's International Society Stem Cell Research's annual meeting suggest US and UK researchers have developed technology to create synthetic human embryos and a model human embryo with a heartbeat and traces of blood.
I like that they gave it traces of blood. And
I mean, dude,
not
just a
enough.
little bit.
Let's not give it enough to live.
Give it with the Titanic thing.
We'll give it
like,
traces of blood.
This is So we're getting. I mean, I
it's
think
a weird place to go to, like technologically.
This feels like the beginning of like Prometheus, where they like start creating like aliens. So they reprogram skin cell stems. And revert them to a 3-dimensional structure that resembles an embryo, all at about 3 weeks development without the need for a sperm and egg. Can these synthetic embryos be implanted and go on and become full-grown human life? Scientists say not yet, and that something is missing that they don't fully understand yet. I'm guessing it's the sperm.
Yeah, or that.
And here's the big question. It says, why are scientists doing this? To understand human development and discover how and why things can go wrong. Feels like making artificial humans is a good way to figure out how things can go wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
If you didn't think AI was going to come and kill us all, it's definitely going to be the
synthetic
cloned humans that come and do it. Like, are we just looking for ways to end humanity faster?
That's what this sounds like. Yeah,
it's like, hey, climate change ain't cutting it anymore. We got to develop tech that's going to robots that are going to kill us, and then synthetic humans that will replace us ultimately.
Well, climate change definitely isn't cutting it, because it's been 5 years since Greta Thunberg said, "Oh, the world's going to be destroyed."
Yeah,
and
well, and they also say, you know, those climate change people, that overpopulation is a problem. It's like, hey, we found a way to make more people.
Yeah, I don't really know. Obviously, I see their
like
official
a sketchy area to go to with science. Yeah.
It's like we need to know how to clone humans so that we can condemn it.
What's their end game with this? I mean, it's obviously. I just want to know, like, when are we going to figure out that Skynet has been funding all of this behind the scenes?
That would make more sense at this point. Yeah. So Elon Musk, speaking of, things that science shouldn't do, Elon Musk now says that cisgender is considered a slur on Twitter. So I guess.
Yeah, this one's interesting.
James Esezes? I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is.
So he tweeted yesterday.
You get to say that with a lisp.
Oh, Esezes. Yesterday, after posting a tweet saying that I reject the word cis and don't wish to be called it, I received a slew of messages from trans activists calling me sissy, spelled with a C, and telling me that I am cis, whether or not I like it. Just imagine if the roles were reversed. And Elon Musk replied that he repeated targeted harassment against any account will cause the harassing accounts to receive, at minimum, temporary suspensions. The words cis or cisgender are considered slurs on this platform. So I can see that they're using it as a way of harassing someone. So I understand that. I don't really understand where cisgender came from in the first place as a term.
This is one of those things where I think cis can certainly be used to bully people. I don't like using the term cis or cisgender personally, but the free speech part of me is like, I don't want the censorship on either side.
Yeah,
like, I don't want an account to be suspended for using the word cis, just like I wouldn't want someone to be suspended for criticizing trans people.
Yeah.
I want it just to be free speech for everybody.
Yeah,
it's got to be back and forth.
That's kind of the concern I have seeing this story. But
Yeah.
I mean, if it is specifically just about this guy says, "Don't call me that," and everyone starts calling him that, then that's obviously some form of harassment. I get that. But is it because of that word?
This is the point where, like, it's like...
I think it's still hard because then you have trans people who say if you call them by the pronoun they don't want to be called repeatedly, that's harassment. And
Right.
I don't think that's counts as harassment. I think that's a sane person.
Yes, yeah.
But I would rather see these policies just, not take sides politically on specific words like this and just say, you're allowed to debate it and argue it and we're not going to step in and censor you.
Yeah, and I think with especially like the pronouns and stuff like that, like if somebody wants to identify as that, and I totally get that. It's like that's the free speech aspect of it. But yeah, like if you flip it, it's like if you want that, then you have to be okay with the other side of it. And I think that's where it gets a little murky for some people. But overall, like free speech, it's like it should just be an open dialogue. I think on all of it.
Norm Macdonald said that cis male is a way of marginalizing a normal person. I kind of agree with that. And I definitely do think, I don't know that I ever felt like it was marginalizing. I feel like it's redundant. It's redundant and it's this sort of Orwellian newspeak where, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. When you add the term cis in front of it, it's playing into this game of there's some difference between a biological male or female and a real man or woman.
Is that, you're that type.
Is it like that's I'm honestly confused now because it's like I feel like it's changes every week. Like, so if you're straight, that's considered cis, or you can't even say straight anymore.
Cis means when you're, according to the left, cis is when your gender identity and your biological sex are in agreement. So if you're biologically male and you identify as a man, you're cisgender.
Okay.
But if you're biologically male, which they don't even like that term, but you identify as a woman, then you're trans.
Can you? Yeah, I mean, can you? If you do transition and then say I want to be called a cisgendered male,
I mean,
could you do that? I mean,
you can do anything. If
I know. That's what I mean. I'm like. I also like.
The only limits to your gender are your imagination.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of cool, right? It's like a, paint by numbers. Like, it's like,
I think that's what they like.
You can really just keep adding and stuff. I'm like, man, this is...
And I don't know that I would care that much if it was just in their own head, if they want to live their life that way and say they're that. But when they start trying to make laws and make everybody else participate in it and go along with it, then I'm like, nah.
And I think for the most part, too, I'm like, once you start getting into, like, these areas of it, I feel like for the most part it's always like the smallest group of each like political side or anything. Those are the ones that get these headlines. So like for the most part, I bet you most trans are like, I don't care about saying cis. Like I know some trans in New York and stuff, right? And it's like I've never heard them call me cisgender. They never do that. So it's like I feel like that's where it gets blown up into these big things, and then that's what we start fighting.
I don't know a ton of trans people, but of the ones that I know, I'd say 2 out of the 3 trans people that I know they're of the mindset we want to live our lives this way. Yeah. But we're not going to try to force other people to
have they ever called you cisgendered? Like
no. And they also don't demand that other people use their pronouns. Right. Now, if they want to do that, and they have some friends that want to do that, that's fine. Yeah. But they're not trying to punish people for not going along with it. And they're also not pushing to have, for instance, biological males competing against women in sports and stuff like that.
Yeah. Those sound like some pretty cool transgenders.
They're the best.
They really are cool. You're missing out.
Yeah.
So going back to your comedy a little bit, I've seen your bits about Latinx.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you consider that a slur in the same sense that the cisgender is becoming a slur.
I think with my sense is like I like to criticize it because I always feel like with Hispanics in general, like what I love is that we don't really get offended by anything. Like it's especially if it's in the vein of comedy.
Sure.
Like we will laugh at anything. And you ask any comic like what are the best audiences? It's usually a Hispanic crowd because you can take them anywhere as long as there's a joke and a punchline. That's, we're okay to go there. So with the whole like Latinx thing, I felt like it was always like that political speak where they like capitulate and say, hey, we want to be more inclusive. But in trying to be more inclusive, you excluded the people that you're trying to include. So whenever you started to see, politicians, I even in like the debate of 2020, like you started seeing them say like, oh, in the Latinx community. And the whole problem is like, wait, nobody asked us if that's what we wanted to be called. None of us use it. None of us will use it. And the fact that Spanish is a gendered language, right? It totally just discounts the actual culture, So criticizing that, I was just like, you know what? I haven't seen a comic take this side of it. And lo and behold, that's the majority. That's the way that a lot of people were feeling online. So that's kind of where that started to trend and blow up. And it's so funny to me whenever you do see some Latinos that want to be identified that it's like, well, I'm not taking that away from you, but I also can criticize it. And that was kind of the funny thing. I think that's also too like something that blew up with a lot of politicians where they started to realize like, oh, this is actually really offending more than I thought it was.
It's alienating more than it's bringing people in. Do you want us to check with Elon if he'll suspend accounts that use Latinx?
I would love that actually.
Next time we talk to him.
So you don't think the X makes it sound more extreme though?
I mean, to the point.
Like the Latinx games.
I will say if there was a Latinx games and it was just like a fight to the death, that would be cool.
Like a Hunger Games.
Yeah. It's like who gets to stay in the US, Just like
I think we just solved our immigration problem.
Yeah. If we just make it a reality TV show, I would be totally cool with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Here's another problem that needs solving is climate change. It's been 5 years to the day that Greta Thunberg said that we needed to stop using fossil fuels in 5 years unless we wanted all humanity to be wiped out from irreversible climate change.
Irreversible.
This is her now deleted tweet. A top climate scientist is warning that climate change will wipe out all of humanity unless we stop using fossil fuels over the next 5 years.
That's today, the 21st.
It is.
Whoa.
And we're still doing fine.
So no one will actually hear this episode because it's all gone.
Give it till the end of the day?
Yeah.
Come on. Let's not jump the gun here.
Just let's show her a little grace.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It could be midnight. Boom.
But I don't know. There's still time left for the sea levels to rise.
Or sink.
Yeah.
Which is it now?
Oh, I thought they always say they're going to rise.
They did, but then Obama
I thought it was the moon colliding with Earth this whole time. Is that?
I don't think that's part of climate change. That might be the Mayan calendar or something.
Yeah, I know. I think that's where I'm going on. But by the way, how different is that than like what the Mayans predicted years ago? Like, they should probably like link up.
Anytime there's a cult where they're like, the world's going to end on this date, and then the date comes and goes, and they never admit they're wrong. They always revise. They always go, "Oh, we did the calculation wrong. It's Tuesday next year."
Yeah, it's true, right? It's like,
well, this is basically what she's doing.
That's what they do.
It's just, she's part of a cult in a sense.
Mm-hmm. But at least she has this additional, time now because they took away her childhood, and now she has some extra time because humanity.
She can go back to being a child.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, she can go back.
You've stolen my childhood.
How dare you?
How dare you?
Banger of the week.
Here's our article. It's Satan asks LGBTQ community to please tone it down a bit. It's just
I think that's fair.
Pride rainbows and pride flags on everything.
Gross.
Do you think the cultural pendulum is swinging back in the other direction? Do you think people have gone too far with it?
I mean, it kind of feels like it, but who knows how it'll feel next month.
It does feel like
I'm actually a little bit sad because I didn't see one rainbow flag in here when I walked in.
No, we do have a pride flag somewhere that we use in sketches. It's the one with the trans
progress
triangle
flag,
on it. Yeah.
Good.
That's exactly how
I feel comfortable knowing that it's nearby.
I do feel like there's two things I think that are starting to push the pendulum back, or at least that there's more resistance. One is that there are a lot of, gay and lesbian people who, they were very pro gay marriage and they fought that fight, but they're not on board with everything has to be sexual. They're not on board with we have to teach it in schools. They're not on board with every place, everywhere, at every moment has to celebrate this. And when they're becoming more and more embracing the trans stuff, I think there's a lot of other people in the lesbian, gay, bisexual community that don't themselves buy into this idea that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man.
Yeah.
And when they're trying to push that, as it's almost become the forefront of the pride movement, is the trans stuff.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that were not necessarily on the conservative side, other gay people, there's feminists, there's Democrats themselves who are saying, no, we don't think a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man.
Yeah, this is definitely starting to basically lanes colliding
into
this thing. And I also think too, it's I always say, I feel like the pride thing is pushed more by white people who have a lot of guilt. And it's almost like what they did with the Latinx thing, where it's they think they're helping way more, and they're I'm such an ally and everything. And then gay people are like, dude, just you're being annoying now.
Yes, exactly.
Calm down.
Exactly.
We get it. You're okay with us now.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening. It's true. It's if I was gay, I'd be like, guys, come on, we don't need to be this over the top. It was kind of cool when it was a little dangerous, right? Not when the LA Dodgers are have a whole the baseball field is going to be painted into a pride diamond. You know what I mean? You're come on.
That's another great point about the sort of pendulum swinging. Is it's no longer just that these people feel like Christians are criticizing them. Now it's when they invite the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. It's these gay groups are specifically insulting and mocking Christianity.
Yeah.
And then you have people saying hold on, you can celebrate pride over here without openly mocking Christianity purposely.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. So we've solved it. Pendulum swinging back the other direction.
We should just
everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, we solved immigration today. We solved pride.
Yes.
So perfect.
The only thing
climate change is not as big a problem as Greta Thunberg said it would be.
Big.
we also have to update the Mayan calendar to include the climate change thing. Maybe one of those. If you put your money on one of those, you're gonna come out ahead. So
this is a productive episode.
It is, yeah.
Bomb of the week.
Man diligently searches scripture for an impressive verse to share on social media. This one speaks to my heart. Partially because I wrote it. So sad.
Did you write the headline?
No, I didn't write the headline.
Just the article.
It's a terrible headline, but I wrote
the article.
The article.
Guys, click on this.
Chef's
Even
kiss.
if you don't like the headline, read the article. Fantastic writing from Travis here.
Yeah, I do. I probably overthought it though, because I thought about this world where this man is doing this, and so I just had him literally skimming pages. He has a whole reading routine where he's skimming pages to find just the right verse. And
I like that Travis is a method writer for the Babylon. He gets in the head of the character that he's writing a 2-paragraph article about.
That's right. You can't read the Bible the same way if you're only looking for social.
We should have they should update the different Bibles, so they should have the social media Bible. Where it's just takes you to the verses that you want to share for that day.
Yeah, which these verses will pair well with a picture of a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
A different version. You got the King James, that's fine. That's the tried and true one. But what you really want to do is, jump on the it's just in the Bible it'll just say #Bible on the front of it, and then you can just search okay, trends, what's going on, how can we do that? Definitely.
Genius.
I think
like how some Bibles have a little concordance in the back. Instead of that, it's a hashtag reference.
Yeah, exactly. What's trending today? How can we
Yeah.
What's the algorithm?
That would actually probably sell pretty well.
Yeah. See, we solved another thing today.
Exactly. We need to have Brian on more often. We're just getting through everything.
Burning through this.
Hey, I have 2 questions for you. How are you paying for your health care? And how's that working out for you? If it's working perfectly, great. Go grab a snack. If not, then listen closely, because I have a solution for you. a biblical solution. Samaritan Ministries. Samaritan Ministries is a community of Christians paying one another's medical bills. It's biblical, affordable healthcare sharing with no network restrictions. Here's how it works. When a medical need arises, you choose the healthcare provider that's right for you and have a say in the treatment you receive, even if it's a natural approach or an alternative medical treatment. Your medical bills are shared with fellow members and your need is covered in prayer. Healthcare sharing with Samaritan Ministries may also be more affordable than what you're paying now, and if it's the right fit, you can join anytime, even today. Check it out at samaritanministries.org/thebabylonbee. That's samaritanministries.org/thebabylonbee.
So we talked about your web series Migrants a little bit. We're going to talk to you a little bit more about your comedy. So you stand up. You have any shows coming up that you want to plug while you're here?
I'm in town. I think they'll be done by the time I'm here. So
well, check. Do you have a website or anything where you post?
Yeah, just go to my Instagram.
Cool. Instagram, Brian Torres Day, to check out his stand-up shows. Who are your like influences for your web series? Like what kind of shows and
it's very much in like a mockumentary style, so we can kind of capture like a lot of those comedic, like awkward moments. So it was really inspired by like Parks and Rec and The Office, in that sense, where I was like, if we're gonna do this, I want to do it in like a very like mockumentary style, because I feel like these characters are people that you would run into anyways. And if you're coming into it from like the progressive, like hipster side, right? That's the one thing. It's like I have a lot of friends that are, very left, and they watch it and they're like, dude, that's totally fun, because we're basically making fun of like the white savior complex, or like the overly like white guilt, like, hey, we want to hear open arms, and then when you're finally in a room with the people that you want to have open arms, they're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we should just take them out of Mar-a-Lago or something. You know what I mean? Like take them out,
or Martha's Vineyard. That's where they were like, get out of here.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Hey, we're a sanctuary state. Okay. Now take them somewhere else.
Well, that's the funny thing too, and that's the one thing is like, with Hispanics, like the reason why I think people on the on the Democratic side are very like puzzled whenever it comes to like voting practices of Latin people is that we're all very diverse, like as far as mindsets go. Like you're never going to get a monolith politically. So with the jokes in the web series of Migrants, I always wanted it to do where like we're kind of just making fun of everything, and whatever you think is kind of how people, whatever your political mindset is like that's where you find, I think, the jokes hit harder. So when it came to this, I was like, let's just make fun of like the Brooklyn hipsters with the actual migrants, put them in a room together and see what happens, and that's kind of how the whole comedy series was spawned upon. So
nice.
I think it was seeing people react to it is like, I love seeing people's like politics being like, oh yeah, I totally get it because of this. And then you see people from the other side be like, I totally laugh because of this. And it's like, great. That's what good comedy's supposed to do. It's like, we take it down the middle and make fun of both sides, and whatever side you're on, you identify with. And the other side that you're not on, you can actually see they're like, oh, I get why you would do that. So yeah, I think that's the kind of funny aspect of it.
And then as far as your stand-up goes, who are your like favorite comics and who are your biggest influences as far as stand-up goes?
Stand-up comics go, man. I really loved Greg Giraldo.
Oh yeah, one of the best. Yeah,
he's one of the best, and it's kind of sad because like a lot of comics don't know Greg Giraldo. Like
he left way too soon. Like Patrice O'Neill around a few years apart, but yeah, they were just they were such fixtures on the comedy scene in that era.
Yeah, so that whole comedy scene, like their late 90s, early 2000s, like New York scene, like Tough Crowd, all that. So those were kind of like the big comedy influence I had. So Greg Giraldo was definitely one. And then even going before that, like Eddie Murphy. I think Eddie Murphy kind of really was like, took everything and just made it 10 times bigger.
Yeah.
And like was like the first like person to make stand-up comedy kind of like something that young people could laugh with. Because I always felt like comedy before that was like, very much like people in their like 30s, 40s up, like very proper. So he kind of tore it down and then kind of created it to where it was like accessible from people who were laughing, who were like, teenagers up until like 40s and 50s. So he kind of really, I think, brought stand-up comedy to like a worldwide platforms. So when I was young, I used to watch Eddie Murphy stand up, and that was definitely it. So yeah, Geraldo, Eddie Murphy, Norm Macdonald.
Norm is just
yeah.
best.
Yeah, like Norm Macdonald to me is like probably the best comedic mind of the last 30 years.
I think laugh for laugh, he's the funniest. It's there's some comics that I think craft, like Chappelle's really good at sort of making a point with his comedy. I think he's hilarious, but just in terms of making me laugh, and between stand-up and sketch comedy and his writing and his podcast, it's like everything Norm did was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, easily the best Weekend Update personality of all time. And the fact that he was not afraid to go after so many like taboo topics at the time. Like nobody talks about, like, he was kind of like before the whole cancel culture stuff. Like if you go back and watch his clips, like you could tell the producers were sweating in the background.
There's a great clip of him going on the View when Barbara Walters was there and telling them how much he loves George W. Bush.
That was great.
It's so funny.
Yeah, and then he keeps calling Clinton a murderer, which is so funny. He was like, I thought it was a matter of record. Like, I thought he killed people. I don't know. Funny. Like, are we not? And then making fun of OJ, which it's crazy to think that OJ was like a figure you wouldn't talk negatively.
Well, he was friends with the producer at NBC.
Right.
Right. Isn't that part of why he got let go from?
That's part of it, yeah.
Oh, that's so crazy.
But that's so cool. It's like he was essentially what a comedian's supposed to be, which is like, we make fun of everything. Doesn't matter what side you're on. And that's why I cringe when I see comics that are like back like a politician. I don't care what side you're on. It just feels a little like, it feels anti-comedy to me. Like, and it's like being a kid and rooting for the principal. Like, it feels like it's like gross. You know what I mean? Like, Principal
100%.
Tom's is great. You know, you're like,
yeah, and that was what was great, I think, about Geraldo and Patrice O'Neill. And in the modern era, I think Chappelle is kind of in that vein where they're not owned by the left or the right. They're not pandering to one side or the other. They're independent-minded people, and they'll call out both sides.
Yep.
And they'll, expose the absurdities regardless of, which party or which politician it's about.
I think that's what the best thing about comedy is. Like, you're supposed to be like the everyman. Like, you observe the world, and then you comment and make your opinions on it with the goal of being funny.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing where it's like, I've seen certain stand-ups where their whole goal is to rather make a statement or like dunk on a certain group versus actually getting laughs. And that's just so against my comedic DNA. Where it's like anything that I write, anything that I produce, the goal is always the joke.
Yeah.
I don't care about the politics of it or anything. And the funny thing is that some people think that's a political statement now. It's like, oh, really? You're mocking this group or you're doing this? And it's like, yeah, but did you laugh though? Yeah,
the humor's got to come first, and you can't be pandering to one side or the other. One of my favorite quotes about comedy is Bill Hicks had this quote where he said, to me, the comic is the guy who says, wait a minute, as the consensus forms. And I always loved that, I always loved that quote, like when everybody's thinking one thing, it's like, hold on, what does this really make sense? Like try to find the angle that you can take it on from.
Yeah, and I think, there's certain comedians like Bill Hicks, right, where like he was considered really edgy, but when you go back and watch his stuff now, you're like, oh no, the guy was just really just talking about things in a very kind of like ABC type of way. He was just talking about things that at the time people were a little bit sensitive about, but now you look at it to where comedy's evolved to now, and it's like, that doesn't even really seem like edgy.
Yeah.
It just seems like, oh, the guy was just tapping into something years ahead.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think with comedy, I like to leave politics out of it and just talk about kind of how cultures interact. Especially, with kind of my background, I can kind of tap into it. I love talking about the subcultures within race.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that's perceived, but when you start putting it under the microscope, there's a lot more nuance there.
You have a great bit about how all the different Latin subcultures and the different, ethnic affiliations, like they all have these like rivalries with each other, right?
Yeah. And I think that's fun because the people who live within the actual culture, they laugh way harder than the people who feel like they're like, I'm very open, and everybody's like, yeah, but you don't know. That's why it's like, so it is much more fun to kind of tap into those things because frankly, like a lot of people don't hear it.
Yeah.
And I think that's, what people identify with my comedies.
Cool. So yeah, be sure to check out Brian's comedy. You can see it on YouTube and check out his Instagram for upcoming shows.
You used to be good.
Adam Ford.
Adam Ford.
Adam Ford. Adam Ford.
I really miss Adam Ford.
Travis, you want to take these? They're about the shirt you're wearing here.
Yeah. So this shirt was lovingly created by Bettina, who's our graphic designer or creative designer, whatever
she does something.
she calls herself.
She's on the payroll. We got to justify it.
Yeah. So I think it's cool, but Roger Smith does not like it. He says, "MURICA? Heck no. It's America, not MURICA. By reaching for the lowest common denominator among the population, you're insulting the rest of us. MURICA indeed. Stick 'em up yours so far it's going to take a winch to pull them out." Stick what up? The shirt?
I don't know.
"It's been a long time since I've been so insulted by an utterly tasteless sales pitch, but you have managed to do it."
So he's just mad that we abbreviated America.
Yeah.
I don't know. After that, I'm kind of on his side now.
You're very anti this shirt.
I don't know what he's putting up your thing, but
Yeah.
If it's gonna take a winch to pull it out,
A winch. Yeah.
Yeah.
that means this guy's also talking about like you're gonna need multiple hands of labor to get this thing. Like whenever he goes in a winch, I'm like, we got to get that. We got to get a truck. We got to get multiple guys.
Yeah.
We got to tie it into something. Like this guy really thought of that insult on the second part. The first part doesn't make any sense.
No.
So if you're gonna create some hate mail, you guys really got to step it up and really be more descriptive because.
Here's a much more concise hate mail response to the new shirt. This is from John Shaw. "Don't ever contact me again."
Oh, simple and concise.
I'm always curious how these people wind up on our mailing list in the first place.
Yeah. Well, and
Because you got to register for
why
it.
they think
and then
replying
go,
to it makes sense.
Don't contact me ever again.
There's an unsubscribe button. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And it's always the email. It's like, "Do not reply at Bible."
Yes.
And it replies back.
Right.
So those guys hate the shirt, but if you want a shirt, now's the perfect time to order one before the 4th of July. Use this special link to get 10% off anything in the Babylon Bee store. Thanks for watching, and if you're a subscriber, stick around for the subscriber lounge. We're going to ask Brian the 10 questions.
Coming up next, for Babylon Bee subscribers.
JB.
This is the category of people who think our headlines are real news
Yeah.
stories.
I don't.
Hilarious.
I think it's all in caps. It's probably from Trump.
Of course. I only judge people that are handicapped.
Kyle's not here, so we can throw him under the bus.
So
Coming at
Elon
it
Musk
fiscally.
just decided that if you make fun of milk, you get kicked off of Twitter.
You need to be very careful. Down with Calvinism.
Well,
Damn.
I
Sorry.
This has been another edition of the Babylon Bee podcast from the dedicated team of certified fake news journalists you can trust here at the Babylon Bee, reminding you that the Federal Reserve is about as federal as FedEx and doesn't have anything in reserve.